Rosie, the doll who traveled the world. Once upon a time, in a cozy little bedroom filled with books, toys, and colorful drawings, there lived a small doll named Rosie. She had soft fabric arms, tiny stitched eyes full of curiosity, and a red polka-dotted dress that made her look cheerful and bright. She spent most of her days sitting on a wooden bookshelf, watching the world around her. Rosie loved listening to the bedtime stories her owner, a little girl named Emma, read every night. She dreamed of adventures in faraway lands, of climbing mountains, crossing rivers, and meeting new friends. But she was just a doll. She couldn't go anywhere. Or so she thought. One sunny afternoon, as Emma played outside, Rosie felt a strange, tingling sensation. It was as if something in the room was calling to her. She looked around and noticed for the first time a small suitcase tucked beneath the bookshelf. It was unlike any suitcase she had ever seen. It shimmered in the sunlight as if sprinkled with tiny golden stars. Her curiosity grew. What could be inside? Rosie wondered aloud. Using all her strength, she climbed down from the shelf, her tiny feet landing on the soft rug. She walked toward the suitcase and ran her hands over its smooth surface. It felt warm, almost alive. Taking a deep breath, she unlatched the lock and slowly lifted the lid. A burst of dazzling colors swirled around her like a whirlwind. The air filled with the scent of flowers, ocean breezes, and spices she had never smelled before. A soft voice, as gentle as the wind, whispered, "Where do you wish to go, little traveler?" Rosie gasped. I don't know," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. The colors spun faster, wrapping around her like a cocoon. The bedroom vanished in a blink, and suddenly, Rosie felt herself being lifted into the air, floating like a feather. The world around her shimmered and shifted, and before she could understand what was happening, she landed gently on solid ground. She blinked. She was no longer in Emma's room. Instead, she stood in the middle of a bustling city square. Towering buildings surrounded her, their rooftops covered in curved tiles that shimmered in the sunlight. People walked by, wearing colorful clothes, laughing and chatting in a language she didn't recognize. The air smelled of something delicious, warm, sweet, and slightly spicy. Rosie's heart raced. "Where am I?" "Are you lost?" a kind voice asked. Rosie turned to see a girl about Emma's age with dark, braided hair and a bright red dress. Her eyes sparkled with kindness. I think so," Rosie admitted. "I was in my bedroom just a moment ago, and then I was here." The girl giggled. "You must be a traveler. My name is May. Welcome to China." Rosie's eyes widened. "China? The real China?" May nodded. "Yes. Would you like me to show you around?" Rosie beamed. "I'd love that." May took Rosie's hand, leading her through the streets. Everywhere Rosie looked, she saw something new and exciting. She watched as people carefully painted delicate designs on paper lanterns, listened to the rhythmic beat of a drum performance, and even tasted a tiny bite of something called moon cake, which was sweet and rich. As they walked, May pointed to a beautiful building with golden rooftops. "That's the Forbidden City. It's very old and full of history." Rosie stared in awe. "It's so grand. There's nothing like this back home." May smiled. "Every place in the world is special in its own way. If you keep traveling, you'll see many more amazing things." Rosie's heart swelled with excitement. She had only just begun her journey, but she already knew this was what she had always dreamed of. After a wonderful day exploring, Rosie felt a gentle tug, as if something invisible was calling her back. She turned to May. I think it's time for me to go. May nodded, though she looked a little sad. Will you come back someday? Rosie smiled. I hope so. She reached into her pocket and found a small slip of paper with golden writing. It read, "Open the suitcase when you're ready for your next adventure." Taking a deep breath, she pulled out the magical suitcase that had somehow followed her. As soon as she lifted the lid, the colors swirled around her once more. May waved as Rosie felt herself being lifted away. In an instant, she was gone. The world spun around her, and before she knew it, she was standing in a completely different place, the smell of fresh bread filling the air. Her adventure had only just begun. The world around Rosie swirled with dazzling colors as the magic of the suitcase carried her to a new adventure. She felt as light as a feather, floating through the air. The scent of fresh bread and flowers filled her senses, and when the colors finally settled, Rosie found herself standing in a narrow cobblestone street. She blinked in surprise. The buildings around her had red-tiled roofs, and their walls were painted in warm shades of yellow and orange. Small balconies overflowed with colorful flowers, and the sound of a guitar strumming a cheerful tune echoed through the street. People strolled by, chatting in a language Rosie didn't recognize, but it sounded musical and full of life. Where am I this time? Rosie wondered aloud. Hola! A cheerful voice called out. Rosie turned to see a boy about Emma's age with curly dark hair and bright brown eyes. He wore a white shirt with embroidered patterns and held a small guitar in his hands. Hello? Rosie greeted him with a smile. My name is Rosie. Do you know where I am? The boy grinned. You are in Spain. My name is Diego. Are you visiting? Yes, I think so. Rosie hesitated. I'm traveling with a magical suitcase. Diego's eyes widened with excitement. A magical suitcase? That's amazing. Then you must see my city. Rosie's heart filled with joy. She loved making new friends, and Diego seemed friendly and full of energy. I'd love to, she said. Diego took her hand and led her down the lively streets. They passed by small cafes where people sipped drinks and enjoyed plates of golden, crispy food. Rosie's nose twitched at the delicious smells. Diego laughed when he saw her interest. That's churros! They are sweet and delicious. You dip them in chocolate. Rosie's eyes widened. That sounds amazing. Diego bought a small cone of churros and handed one to Rosie. She took a bite. The dough was warm and crunchy, and the chocolate was rich and smooth. This is the best thing I've ever eaten, she exclaimed. Diego grinned. Spain has a lot of good food, but there's more to see. Come on! They walked until they reached a large open square filled with people dancing. A woman in a flowing red dress twirled gracefully, her feet tapping the ground in rhythm. A man clapped his hands and played the guitar while the crowd cheered. Rosie's eyes sparkled with excitement. What kind of dance is this? Diego clapped his hands to the beat. This is flamenco. It is a very passionate and strong dance. Want to try? Rosie hesitated. I've never danced before. Diego smiled. It's easy. Just follow the rhythm. He showed her how to stomp her feet and clap her hands, and soon Rosie found herself moving with the music. She giggled as her tiny feet tapped the ground. You're a natural, Diego said. Rosie felt proud. She never imagined she would dance in the streets of Spain. As the afternoon sun turned golden, Diego led her to a grand, beautiful building with tall towers and intricate carvings. This is La Sagrada Familia, Diego explained. It is a very famous church in Spain. It has been under construction for many years. Rosie stared up at the towering structure. It looks like a castle from a fairy tale. Diego laughed. It does, doesn't it? Spain has many castles too. Maybe you will visit one someday. Rosie sighed happily. She had learned so much in just one day. Spain was full of music, dancing, delicious food, and beautiful buildings. Just as she was about to ask Diego more questions, she felt a familiar pull in her chest. She gasped. I think it's time for me to go. Diego looked sad but nodded. I understand, but promise me you will come back someday. Rosie smiled. I promise. She reached for her magical suitcase and opened the lid. Instantly, the air around her swirled with bright colors. Diego waved as Rosie disappeared into the magic. As she floated through the glowing tunnel once again, Rosie couldn't stop smiling. She had danced flamenco, eaten delicious churros, and seen one of the most beautiful buildings in the world. Where will I go next? She wondered as the suitcase carried her away to her next adventure. The magical suitcase swirled with shimmering colors, carrying Rosie through the air once again. Each time she traveled, she felt a tingling excitement. Where would she land this time? The whirlwind of light and sound slowly faded, and Rosie found herself standing on soft, golden sand. A warm breeze brushed against her face, and when she looked up, she gasped in awe. Towering pyramids rose high into the sky, their stone sides glowing beneath the bright sun. Nearby, a massive statue of a creature with a lion's body and a human's head rested in the sand. Rosie's heart raced with excitement. I must be in Egypt, she thought. Just then, a boy wearing a white tunic and a blue scarf approached her with a friendly smile. Hello, you look like a traveler, he said. Rosie grinned. I am. My name is Rosie, and I'm exploring the world. The boy's eyes lit up. Welcome to Egypt. I am Omar. Would you like to see something amazing? Yes, please, Rosie said eagerly. Omar led her toward the Great Pyramid. As they walked, Rosie marveled at the camels resting nearby and the hieroglyphics carved into ancient stones. These pyramids were built thousands of years ago, Omar explained. They were tombs for our great pharaohs. Rosie traced her fingers over the carved symbols. It's incredible. It must have taken so much work to build them. Omar nodded. Yes, but our ancestors were very skilled. They knew the stars, the river, and the land better than anyone. Rosie felt a tug of curiosity. Every place she visited had something special. China had its history, Spain had its music, and now Egypt had its wonders. After a wonderful afternoon exploring, Rosie felt the familiar pull of the suitcase. She turned to Omar. I think I have to go now. Omar smiled. Come back one day. Egypt has more secrets to share. Rosie waved as she opened the suitcase. The golden desert faded, and soon she was soaring through the magical colors once again. A land of ice and snow. When the swirling lights disappeared, Rosie shivered. She was no longer in the hot Egyptian desert. Instead, she stood on a blanket of white snow. Mountains surrounded her, their peaks covered in ice, and in the distance, she saw a village with wooden houses. Before she could take another step, a girl wearing a thick fur coat ran up to her. You must be freezing, she said, handing Rosie a soft scarf. Thank you. Rosie wrapped it around her. I'm Rosie. Where am I? The girl grinned. You're in Norway. My name is Ingrid. Rosie looked around. Everything sparkled under the soft winter sunlight. It's so beautiful. Ingrid nodded. Would you like to see something magical? Rosie's eyes widened. Yes! Ingrid led her up a small hill where the sky stretched endlessly above them. As the evening arrived, soft green and purple lights began to dance across the sky. Rosie gasped. It's like a dream. Ingrid smiled. It's called the Northern Lights. Nature paints the sky here. Rosie watched in awe. She had seen deserts, pyramids, and castles, but this was unlike anything else. As the lights shimmered above them, Rosie felt the magical pull once again. She turned to Ingrid. I have to go, but I'll never forget this. Ingrid hugged her. Goodbye, Rosie. Keep exploring. With a happy heart, Rosie opened the suitcase and let the magic take her away. Or the next adventure awaits. Rosie's journey continued. She walked through the Amazon rainforest, where colorful birds filled the air with song. She rode a gondola in Venice, floating through the beautiful canals. She even visited Japan, where she saw cherry blossoms bloom like pink clouds. Each place she visited taught her something new: how people lived, what they loved, and the beauty of their traditions. But after so many adventures, she felt a familiar warmth in her heart. It was time to go home. As she opened the suitcase once more, she whispered, "Thank you for the journey." The colors swirled, and Rosie felt herself drifting back to where it all began. As the magical colors swirled around Rosie, she felt a familiar warmth in her heart. She had traveled across deserts, danced in lively streets, seen glowing northern lights, and explored the wonders of the world. But now she knew. It was time to go home. The swirling colors faded, and Rosie felt her feet touch something soft. She looked around and gasped. She was back in Emma's bedroom. Everything was just as she had left it. The bookshelf full of colorful storybooks, the cozy bed with its fluffy pillows, and the gentle afternoon sunlight streaming through the window. It felt like she had never left, yet everything felt different. Rosie turned to look at the magical suitcase. It sat quietly on the floor, no longer glowing, as if it too knew the journey had come to an end. She gently closed its lid and smiled. I can't believe how much I've seen, she thought. At that moment, the bedroom door swung open, and Emma ran inside. She picked up Rosie with a big hug. There you are, Rosie. I missed you, Emma said, pressing the doll to her cheek. I had the most amazing dream last night. I dreamed we traveled the world together. Rosie wanted to giggle. If only Emma knew it wasn't just a dream. Emma placed Rosie on her bed and opened one of her favorite books. I want to tell you all about my dream. First, we went to a place with huge pyramids and camels. Then we danced in the streets of Spain. And at night, we saw the sky light up with magical colors. Rosie's stitched eyes twinkled. Everything Emma described was exactly what had happened. Somehow, their hearts had been connected, even while she was traveling. Emma sighed happily. I wish I could see all those places for real someday. Rosie felt a warmth inside her. She had traveled the world, but now she understood something important. Adventures weren't just about seeing new places. They were about learning, sharing, and dreaming. And dreams could begin anywhere, even right here in Emma's room. Emma flipped to a blank page in her notebook. I have an idea. I'm going to draw all the places I saw in my dream. Rosie watched as Emma's pencil moved across the paper. She drew tall pyramids, swirling northern lights, and even a little doll standing next to a kind boy playing a guitar. As Emma drew, she whispered, One day I'll go on a real adventure. Just like you, Rosie. Rosie smiled inside. Emma didn't need magic to see the world. Her heart was already full of wonder. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. Rosie knew that one day, when the time was right, she might open the magical suitcase again. But for now, she was exactly where she belonged. The moral of the story. The world is full of wonders, and every place has something special to teach us. But adventure isn't just about traveling far. It's about seeing the magic in everyday moments, learning from others, and sharing stories with those we love. And sometimes, the greatest journeys begin with a dream